Hello, hello. I am Cindy from Cindy's Rainbow Wisdom, and I felt like it was a good idea to come on here and talk a little bit about certain mindfulness um, techniques, but more really why mindfulness practices are so important for us. And this is a very, very big topic, and we can't cover all of that in one conversation. So where it really felt aligned for me to speak into today, very much because of where the energy is today, and that is heavy Gemini. And this video, because I'm recording it in that sort of a frequency, will be perfect for you whenever you find it. It doesn't matter where the energy is at the point of which you find this, it'll still be perfect for you. So, we had to pause there to let the dog in. Barking is not very conducive in, in this recording. Okay, so the focus I want to just get into today is on the monkey mind. And I'm pretty sure not a person out there doesn't know what a monkey mind is. It is that time where we just have all these chattering voices in our head. They're colliding, they're spiraling, they're swirling, and we can't really still them enough to hear any one voice. And therefore, it's very hard for us to get out of that spiral because we can't figure out what's the most important thing to listen to at this time. And the thing about our minds is they're very powerful, but they often get stuck on a way, on a narrative, a way of thinking, a way of speaking to ourselves, a way of thinking how to handle certain situations. We do it the way it's always been done. And a lot of the time we've set up that pattern around fear. If I do it this way, I will be safe. Even if this way is continually creating discomfort for you and it's not serving you, it's still a case of this is how I've always done it. This is what I know. This is what I will do. But we have many, many of those racing around us at the same time often, and it becomes a little bit overwhelming of how do I just slow down, get centered, get quiet, and from that space ask myself, is this how I think about that? Is this how I want to respond to that situation? Because right now I'm being reactive rather than responsive. And we do want to, in our mindfulness practices, we want to create that pause that gives us the opportunity to respond rather than react, because our reacting nature comes from sort of fight or flight. It comes from our fear. It comes from our anxiety. It comes from our triggers. We all have very many triggers that like the little buttons that get pushed by other people oftentimes in our lives that remind us of something, remind us of something that was scary or hurtful or whatever it was, and then we react. We immediately, let's think of an example. Let's say somebody says something that triggers your self-worth issues. And those self-worth issues go back to when you were a child, and maybe you had a parent or a grandparent or a teacher who used to either subtly or not so subtly tell you that you weren't smart enough or attractive enough or whatever it was, so that it impacted how you feel about yourself. And then you internalize that voice as part of your monkey mind crew, that there's no point trying this because I'm not smart enough, or I'm not this enough or that enough. And so your self-worth is a pattern, a neural pathway that you develop of learned behavior from certain comments. And we're actually wired to take the negative stuff more seriously, to remember it. And one of the reasons for that is, if in our hunter-gatherer days we found this amazing bush full of beautiful red berries and we were really hungry and they looked delicious and we picked them and took them home to our family and we all got really, really sick, we needed to remember that those red berries were dangerous and we shouldn't eat those red berries again. It was much more important for survival physiologically for us to remember that those red berries are dangerous than it was for us to remember that we love to swim in the river. That's not a matter of life or death. And unfortunately, that sort of hangover from that way of physiologically providing safety for us still happens a lot in our thinking, process. So we'll get into the space where we'll have this thought come through that is actually built around something that we've learned, but we're so hell-bent on it, and it actually comes from the negative. It comes from somebody telling you you weren't good enough, even though you might have had 5 people in your life that always told you how amazing you were and how worthy you were and how wonderful you were. You hung on to that one bad teacher who brought you down, and you have internalized that voice. So that when we get into when we're triggered by something in our present day, and it triggers into our self-worth thing, then suddenly we've got all these loops going on about why we shouldn't try that thing, or why we can't do this, because we're not worthy, we're not good enough. And that can go for a million different storylines in your life. So this is where it's important in mindfulness to start to slow down the thinking. Actually imagine you could see each thought coming into the front, giving it a little bit of time, and feeling what that brings up in you, maybe where in your body it goes, what emotion arises, and then going, okay, well, is that true for me? Or is that, I don't know why that's coming up now. It doesn't seem relevant, but you couldn't have noticed that when you're stuck in the crazy monkey mind moment where you not able to discern, where you're not able to edit your thinking. So if we get to the point of slowing down, allowing each thought to come forward, not poo-pooing any of them, not judging and criticizing, recognizing, observing, being curious. That's a good monkey trait or Gemini trait. Be curious, but don't let it control you. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it run away with you. So in our mindfulness practices, and this is also something that you need to try many different things to see what fits you. What is the best for me to begin my journey? What is the best as that becomes easy for me? What is the next best thing for me to establish? So for me, I like to try a lot of different tools, and meditation is just an amazing tool. But if you have a very, very busy monkey mind, and I said to you, you need to sit still for 20 minutes a day, or maybe 20 minutes twice a day, and not think of anything. That is how I want you to meditate. Silent mind meditation. Sit very still. Don't move your body when it gets sore. Sit still, no sound. How do you think you'd do with that? I'm willing to bet that most of us would fail before we got very far down the line, and that would reinforce a lot of our, oh, I can't meditate, I'm not good at this, I'm no good, whatever the narrative will then become for you, and I've now failed. So I always think that it's better for us to start somewhere where it's achievable and build our muscles and build that into a sustainable thing for us, so that then maybe a year from now, a decade from now, you are sitting in silent mind meditation, if that is something you want to achieve, and it's easy and powerful and magical for you. Meditation is not always easy and always powerful. Well, it's always powerful, but it's not always comfortable. Even if you've been meditating for many years, often it'll bring up something uncomfortable. But what I want to say about the monkey mind is, if your mind is so busy and you sat in silent mind meditation, the idea is that if you just sit and let those monkey voices do their thing, they start to lose momentum and strength as you sit there silently. However, this does take patience, and this does take exercising the muscle, energetic muscle, of being able to sit still in silence. If you're more like me, it's much easier to start with a guided meditation. And this is why I love guiding meditations, because I feel like it's so much easier to get lost in the voice of somebody else who's painting a picture for you that gives you a little guide to follow this. In the process of that, you're getting out of your own head and that monkey mind process, and you're allowing your imaginal realm to open up. Let's say I was guiding you through a meditation that took you for a walk in a forest, or I took you to stand at the ocean with your feet in the sand, gazing at the waters. As I would guide you through that, as I would plant the imagery, you still have to paint the picture. You still have to fill it out. You still have to feel into that in yourself. And this is putting you in a different headspace, this is quieting the monkeys because you're listening to that usually calming voice that brings you back to a focal point so you don't sit in silence and take ages for the monkeys to keep quiet. So for me, when it comes to how do I quiet the monkey mind in terms of meditation, I would absolutely suggest, if you really struggle with this, start with guided meditations. You can do 5-minute meditations, 10-minute meditations, guided. You can build up to whole sound journeys where it's just frequency music that you just allow yourself to get lost in the movement of the music and that vibration, and it takes you somewhere. You can go into like a tribal drumming kind of sound if that pulls you in. You can go to the silent mind meditation if that's what works, but start small. And it really is, mindfulness is a muscle, I think. It's a muscle and we need to practice it. It is a practice. It's not something that you just go, oh, I'm a mindfulness person. I'm mindful today. And then tomorrow you have no consciousness of it. And maybe next week you go, monkey mind, I'm frazzled. I need to be more mindful. But you might find that at the beginning of your journey, you do that. You recognize it every once a week or once a month or every few weeks or when you become frazzled. And that's okay too, because bringing your awareness in is going to be fine. But it'll start to work faster for you if you take easy access points to you. So let's say that guided meditation, you do small amounts of things more consistently and regularly, and you build up your ability to become mindful, to quiet the monkey mind. 2 other tools that I personally use quite a lot, or maybe 3 other tools. Oh, okay, tools are a big thing for me because I definitely find that there are times where this tool works better than that tool for me. And because I've been doing this a long time, and I still can recognize there are times where I cannot sit right now in meditation, but journaling, that's what I can do. I can mind dump what's going on with me onto the page, and then maybe I can sit quietly in a guided meditation, or I could go walking in nature in a mindful, calm, meditative way. It can be many, many different things, but this is where you get to play. You get to play with different ways, you get to play with different tools, and you get to explore how your psyche allows you space to open up into this mindfulness, to soften, to open, to become more responsive than reactive. So journaling is a very big tool for me. Another 2 quick ones that I won't go deeply into that I absolutely love using are essential oils and crystals. And I use these in different ways depending on what's going on with me. And I find them very, very helpful to bring me back into myself, to kind of the mental body that's flitting like crazy fireflies around my head. I just need to bring that down. I need to down regulate the nervous system. And often a beautiful grounding blend of oils or a herby oil, one sniff is enough to already alter that space that I was in. And crystals have that deep calming frequency that is deeply resonant. They have taken millions of years to form, where we are primarily water and very changeable. So they bring their deep resonance to us, and they basically help us in the scientific theory of entrainment, bringing ourselves to the next best frequency because they are the more stable vibration. So that's all I'm going to say on this for today, but just to recognize that managing the monkey mind is a humongous thing that we definitely all know about, have all struggled with, and learning to still or slow the monkey mind and to become less triggered, less reactive, more creating that space to be responsive and to respond to life with responsibility and self-accountability. That is what I'm really hoping for all of you. So if these types of topics interest you, then check out the other things that I offer, because this is my happy place, teaching others how to achieve these types of things. And the reason I got into this is because I really, really needed it. I didn't fall into this by chance. I needed these tools. I still need these tools. I use these tools all the time. And because I have had decades now of really honing my craft personally with these tools in my own self-care and my own inner work, I feel very blessed when I get to plant these seeds in you and support you on your journey to figuring out how to quiet and still that monkey mind. Thank you for your time.